Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining Wanderful today at the Black Travel Journey to Freedom, a Juneteenth tribute. My name is Justine Abigail Yu. I am the curator of content and events here at Wanderful, and I'm so excited for all of you to join us here for this very, very special event. And before we do, I just wanted to share a few notes. We've got a really amazing conversation here, and so I don't want to take up too much space, but I do have some announcements to share. For all of you who are tuning in, please get social with us. We are available on Facebook at She's Wanderful. Same with Instagram at She's Wanderful. So please feel free to take photos or screen caps, I guess, or share any information that you are learning from our amazing panelists today. What else do we need to tell you? This month, we have our open membership month at Wanderful, where, from now until June 15th, if you sign up for our membership community, I'm going to give you our link here, sheswanderful.com/open. You will get 30 days free, and you'll get amazing access to our exclusive traveler and creator community, where we host events just like this one almost every day, which is pretty amazing. And so I encourage you to do that. You'll have access to different webinars on how to travel solo, where to travel. You'll get access to webinars on the creator side as well, on how to level up your creator game, from how to use Substack to polishing up your branding to all of the different facets of marketing that's involved in creator work. You'll get access to that. And so again, encourage you all to check that out, sheswanderful.com/open. If you are interested in grabbing coffee with someone in your community, within the Wanderful community, in whatever city you are based in, you can sign up for our local meetup directory. Again, you can find that information online, sheswanderful.com. If you want to join our volunteer squad and get lots of perks from being a volunteer, definitely join us, sheswanderful.com/volunteer. We have other amazing events coming up. So if you are around June 14th, we have 5 actions to ensure you're being a responsible travel writer or blogger. We also have, on the second Saturday of every month, we have a meetup with our Black, Indigenous, and creators or travelers of color. So definitely connect with other travel-loving women within the BIPOC community. I'm part of that community, and it's such a great space to be in. So please join us there. This is way later, but in October, in the fall, for the creators who are listening in here, please join us for our WIT Summit in Gdansk in Poland, where we have so many different events going on and activations that are happening in Gdansk. And so definitely check that out, witsummit.com. Also wanted to share that every month, Wanderful is a portion of your membership goes to a different travel organization each month. We are all about women supporting women here at Wanderful. And this month's beneficiary is the I Am Not Alone Charitable Foundation, which is supporting Ukrainian refugees all across Europe. And so really encourage you all to check them out, alternativeway.help online, or you can find them on Instagram. Their handle is there as well. And yes, for every paid membership, a Wanderful scholarship goes to a woman in need. And so we now have our open application for scholarships. The deadline is June 30th. So at the end of this month, the link is there, sheswanderful.com/scholarships. Definitely check that out. We want to thank our brand partners who make events like this happen. They allow us to get on speakers and just host a number of different events just like this one. And I want to introduce you all to our amazing panelists. First, we have Wanda Duncan. And Wanda has been working and traveling as a digital nomad since 2016. She is the founder of Black Women Travel, a thriving community of Black women who center travel, wellness, and creating online streams of income. And you can get connected with Wanda. You can find her at blackwomentravel.com, but she's got a lot of things going on here. You can join the Nomad Crew Collective. You can listen to her amazing weekly show called the Black Women Travel Podcast. So go on your streaming service, wherever you listen to podcasts, find her there. And you can catch the replay of the annual travel conference just for Black women called the International Black Women Travel Jubilee. And you can find all of that information on Wanda's website there, blackwomentravel.com. And I'll bring her in here, add to stream. Hey, Wanda. There you are. All right. Next up, we have Dr. Aisha Ladan Abdul Rahman. Aisha took her African ancestry DNA test in June 2020 and took her first trip to the African continent in January of 2021. She returned from Ghana with a feeling of being empowered, with a feeling of renewal and a complete new outlook on life and her professional goals as a librarian. And in April of 2022, Aisha took her first trip to her ancestral home of Sierra Leone in honor of her maternal ancestral line. She went there to reconnect to her Temne and Mende culture and reclaim her citizenship as a Sierra Leonean. And I'm sure we'll hear more about that journey and that experience. Thank you so much for joining us. Follow Aisha at Aisha Ladan on Instagram. And last but certainly not least, here we have our moderator. There is Sapphire, are you there? Yes. Sapphire Charisma is a storyteller, a luxury experience designer, and publicist. And you can connect with Sapphire online at queensofvirtue.com. Okay. And I know you all have lots to chat about. I'm going to hide in the back now. Thank you so much for joining us. And Sapphire,
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
So, are you girls ready to dive in?
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah. Okay. So, today we're going to start off with the very first question that I have for you, because I'm like so excited and eager to learn, especially, Wanda, all the amazing things that you're doing for Black women, and Aisha. Definitely want to know more about the genealogy and all that other good stuff, right? So we're going to just dive right in. And my first question is, what does it mean to be free, right? And we hear that freedom, what does it mean? And in relation to travel, right? We want to take it beyond vacation and more or less look at how travel pretty much allows us to experience freedom.
Yeah. Wanda, you go first. Thank you, girl. I want to give a shout out real quick to Joetta, to Amy, to KF, Miss Blacks at Global, Miss Krishan, and Miss When I Wander. Thank y'all for coming through and popping into the comments. And for anyone else watching, super excited to be here. What does it mean to be free? The first thing that came to mind, of course, is the epic Nina Simone, when she was in an interview and the reporter asked her that question and she said, no fear, no fear. And especially these days, right? Being in touch with the community of Black women means being very plugged into, and being an empath, very plugged into what's going on in the States. I haven't been there in 6 years, but I know what it feels like still, right? That's in my nervous system. And from everyone that's there in all these things that are happening at once, all these pandemics, all these endemics, all these whatevers that are happening, fear. It's all fear. Yeah. There's a part of you that will be connected with that, I think, possibly indefinitely, no matter how far away from that you are. But there's also a part that's liberated from that. Again, it's been 6 years. So I can plug in locally. I can ground locally. I can get away from that momentarily. I can not be on social media. I can walk away from the community a little bit. So I think that I still have more range. I'm not in an active scene. So I feel a bit more free, maybe more than a bit. So I think that that's how I would answer that question. What does it mean to be free, to not live in constant fear for myself and those that I love, but also concerned about those who are in that situation, right?
Wow. I don't want to cry yet. So you talk about being an empath, like, yeah, definitely. And a lot of people, for some people, it's just like, oh, freedom, kind of basic. But to me, it's a very, very loaded question. Um, I would say that, to be honest, I could not tell you and I would give you one of those basic answers. Oh, free, free to be myself, and until I left the US. So I would give you kind of like, I really honestly did not know. I didn't have a perspective of, to me, my version of what freedom is today, if you would have asked me that 3 or 4 years ago. So I would say I'm just now experiencing freedom since, leaving the US. Because like Wanda said, there's always that fear. Even, before we went live, I live in a very small town. There's certain places here where I don't feel comfortable to go in my own town in the United States in 2022. I will turn a corner and be like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have came down this street. There's places where I don't feel comfortable to wear my hijab here in the United States in 2022. So yeah, the fear thing is definitely real in 2022. So a lot of people are like, oh, this is a new time, this is a new day. We still have a lot of work to do. But I would say when I was in Ghana, and as soon as you step off the plane, they're Akwaaba, Akwaaba, welcome home, welcome home. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, how much money you have, in terms of being accepted, I will say. Of course, money and things, what you look like, it matters everywhere. But in terms of feeling accepted and feeling safe, I could walk down a dirt street and my family was like, oh my God, you're going to Africa. You might get kidnapped and you don't know anybody there. I could get up early in the morning or late at night and just walk down an empty red dirt road and feel perfectly safe. Same thing in Sierra Leone. So we'll talk a little bit about our trip. One thing that happened is a friend of mine, we were shopping, and Sierra Leone, they have these kekes. They're like a motorbike that you ride, almost like they're taxis. She left her bag in there with all her stuff, all her money. A driver, so once we got up to the hotel, we realized she left her bag. Her driver, or our driver, came all the way back to bring her bag back. That would never happen here. I was like, girl, if we were in the States, your bag would be gone. You would not be getting that bag back. And they're not
You'd
going
be
to turn
tied up with
around.
customer service for like 45 years.
Yeah, and they're not going to bring it back. He was like, oh, I missed my customer up there because I was trying to look for you. So, that's not the type of thing that you're going to experience, at least in my personal experience, being here in the US. So for me, freedom just means it is kind of feeling accepted and feeling valued, I will say, being valued for who you are, as you are, just showing up. And I feel here in the US, it's very hard to say that, even like with social media or being a content creator. What value do you bring? So that was another conversation we've had with Wanda. She was like, girl, you're bringing value just by showing up. And I never thought about it like that. Like, just show, that's all I have to do is show up, and that's being valuable. So that's very foreign to me, being in the United States, that I could just show up and that's all I have to do to add value. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that when we go into the questions, but yeah, that's what freedom means to me.
Awesome. I know Wanda, you spoke a lot about fear, right? I know that's one of the things that we can say that we're operating in right now, given the state of the world here in the States. And a lot of us need to realize that when we're traveling, that fear factor plays a role in where we go, right? We don't, at some extent, we don't experience travel the way others do. You know, it's like sometimes you have to look beyond sunblock, and you know, if you need tick spray, you got to know, like, listen, is this going to be a threat? Is it going to be a problem? You know, you want to spend your dollars, leave here to go there, and it's like an issue too. So I do know that whole fear factor thing plays like a heavy role in it. So leads me to my next question, right? When traveling, how do you create that free feeling before, after, and as well as during your trip?
You gonna make me go first? Yeah, you gonna make me go first?
So I would say for me, I'm a very type A person. So before my trip, I plan as much as possible. There have been a few trips where I did not plan, and I felt a little tense at first, but once I got there, I was able to relax. My trip to Sierra Leone was my first time ever working with a travel agency or like a travel group. I usually plan, because I'm a travel agent myself, I usually plan all my trips myself, being the type A person that I am, a little controlling. And I think that for me, the freedom to let somebody else plan my trip was not something that I thought I would enjoy. But if I would have planned that trip, I would have not had the same experience. So I would say it felt very freeing to allow someone else to plan my travels for once. It was hard, but doing it, had no regrets in doing it. And then I will say during my trip, like I said, just showing up, and also showing up because I did not plan it. I felt this sense of relaxation. Like, I know everything's going to be taken care of. Everything is set up. Everything's going to be, very organized. And I would say also being in West Africa felt very luxury to me. Like, I see these pictures of luxury travel and people at these fancy resorts. I was at just a beach that the locals go to in Sierra Leone. And I was like, okay, looking at the menu, I'm ordering lobster and salad and fresh, water, or, fresh mangoes on the beach that are being brought to me. So it felt very luxury, very free, just being there. I just felt like I can't do this in the US. So it felt, travel is it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a luxury. It's not something that everyone can do. But to go to a country that I've been told, and we know Sierra Leone was in a war, 20 years ago, to a war-torn third world country, and be able to live a life of luxury there, I felt very humbled to be there. Just humbled, the whole experience, just to be humbled to be there in that space. So I would say just humbled is also kind of like my tie-in to freedom, is being free to just relax, kind of let your guard down and just be yourself. And like, Wanda said, to just show up. And then I would say freeing when I got home, it's very hard because it was like a reverse culture shock. So even since being here, I mean, I left with contacts of family, friends that I met there, people that I met in my group, but Mende and Temne people that, text me or message me on WhatsApp every morning, like, good morning, sister, how are you doing? Good morning, auntie, how are you doing? So it's very hard to feel free here. It's like the moment that I got back from Ghana, I'm like, okay, this is not, if I was in Ghana, it would be done like this. If I was in Sierra Leone, it would be done like this. So it's very hard to feel free in here. It's almost like, okay, here I go back to the US, got to put my guard back up. I would say the thing that's freeing to me is being able to share my experience with others, trying to encourage others to visit your home country, figure out where you're from, or at least visit. Go to Sierra Leone, go to Guinea-Bissau, go to, other places other than Morocco, other than to, a safari, go and experience your culture. And I think that for me, that's the freedom that I am now experiencing, is being able to share my experience with others and to kind of inspire them and share my experience with them, I would say.
I love what you're talking about in terms of the guard. I think that that's what makes us not feel free. We have grown up in an environment that we have constantly had to respond to. Constantly. We have had to interpret the actions of others and often are in a stage of defending ourselves and trying to protect ourselves. So it is very much survival, even if you're making money, even if you're making the rent and the bills, at what cost, right? So I think that when we do vacation, we have that thing that we look forward to. We have that time away that we look forward to, and a sabbatical, or like whatever you want to call it, or whatever length of travel you're embarking on. Is like, if you're going right back to that same environment, it's like what you're talking about. It is that, all right, let me roll this window up, child, because the air out there is stank, honey. I don't want none of it, right? I don't want it. I can't breathe that. That's toxic. And
Yeah.
so when the question was, how do you create that sense of freedom before, during, and after your travels? And I think it is, I love Dr. Tama. She's a therapist. She has a podcast, Homecoming, and she talks about making a home inside yourself. And what does that look like? And that looks like, even in the environment where the wounds have been created, carving out space for yourself, taking back your power in whatever way you can, inviting joy into your life, and being able to actually live in the moment and not in preparation for this and for that to go wrong, to go left. So, and that looks different for every person. For me, it was like time at the library, like go on, like my librarian sister,
Yeah.
um, singing and like whatever else I was into when I was in Atlanta, before I left. And now that looks like me having more space as I've been traveling, having more space to do the stuff that I love to do, having more space to be me, like you said, to show up as me. And for that to be enough, to not have to work 50 times as hard to get half as much, like whatever things that we've been told, that have been programmed to us and handed down to us, because those were the experiences of our foremothers. And telling myself a different story about who I am and what it is that I do, and extending that to others. It's like what you're saying, being able to share your travels. It's like being able to extend this little bit of peace that I've claimed, this little bit more of myself in all my strangeness, my weird magic, and being able to extend that to others and give others the permission to do the same, giving others space to voice what it is that they're feeling. So much of us is shut down to a certain extent because you are trying to survive. What happens in this house stays in this house, very cultural. So no, not no more. We're talking about what's going on. We're putting names to our experiences. We're saying, yeah, me too. We're saying, yes, misogynoir. We're saying, yes, like we're calling it racism. Like it's racism. So the more that we're claiming, the more we're voicing these things, the less it's in our bodies. And perhaps the more we can focus on the experiences that we actually want. That's the freedom. So that's what it looks like before, during, and then if you have to return after, creating community, surrounding yourself with the people who speak to the higher parts of yourself. Maybe not higher, but it's like speak to the freer parts of yourself that aren't in constant response to your environment, that aren't, it's like Toni Morrison talks about, if you talking about racism all day, you're not going to do the stuff that's going to get you out of that systemic response to racism.
Right.
That's the game. They want to keep you talking about the problem instead of getting you free so you can live your solution. So I think that's what it looks like. Tapping into your resources, making a different choice, showing up for yourself first, which is always difficult for us because we're so
Yeah.
used to putting everyone else in front of ourselves. We're so used to centering everyone else, focusing on what it is you want. Who are you? How are you showing up for yourself right now today? How can you do more of that? And then by that, it's a ripple effect. And so I'm very interested in that ripple. I would love tidal waves of that. I would love more of us to have ourselves. And so if that involves a life of travel, come on, girl, we got you. There's communities all over the world, not just in Tulum, honey, not just in
Mhm.
Portugal, sweetie. So yeah, I would love to. It has been a joy. It's been an absolute joy to be a part of that. I would love to create more of that, but from a centered place. Because where you go, there you are. You can't just leave and everything magically change. It could be easier for you to heal, but like it's still work that you need to do. Right? It don't just happen. There has to be a conscious choice. So I think that that's what the freedom before, during, and after the trip looks like.
Yeah. Travel is very much about self-care for me. Um, and I'm curious to know, you said a little bit about if you have to come back. So one question, I know Sapphire is our moderator. You can share like, where are you? Why haven't you come back? Where are you at? And what does that look like for you? Do you plan to come back? Do you come back to visit? I would love to be a digital nomad and but I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to start.
But you do. You know where to start. You gotta get your money together. That's where everybody got to start, right?
Right.
There's that escape song, "The Arms of the One Who Loves You," and there's that part that's never, 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 never. It's like, when are you coming back to America? Never. Um, I had tried in 2010 and I failed. I had 9 glorious months out of the country. And I let myself do the stuff, make all the mistakes, the rookie stuff. You pack too much, and I had a storage unit and all types of just silly stuff. It's just that's trial by fire. Everybody goes through it. Even when you leave and you just got too much stuff, we just don't know how to travel with less. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I went back to Atlanta after those 9 months, and I was like, "This is not where it's at. I've been here before. There's nothing else I have to prove to myself here. Like I worked at CNN. Like I had my condo. I had my Toyota Camry. She was good. She was going to what do they call, like, happy hours with her friends. um, and I just was like, I can't do it no more. Like I've been here. I've done this. I'm going to figure out a way. And so it was just that. It was just like giving myself permission to say, no, girl, it's for real over. This relationship is done. America has been what it has been, and it is not for you. So you need to go to what is for you. So it wasn't a like, I hate it here and things are so bad and blah, blah, blah. It was just like, this is not for me. What is? It's what I was walking towards, not what I was leaving behind. And I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
the reactionary bit is important, because if you just running from something, then you'll run into anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like they say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. So I love Black people. So that's what it was. I was like, these white people are doing it. They've been doing it. I know I could figure this out. So from 2010, it took me some time to come to that. There were some things I guess I needed to show to myself in that process, and I did that. So it was 2016 when I left, and mama hasn't been back since. Um,
Nice.
and I gave myself a freedom runway. That's what I called it. I saved up a whole bunch of money and was trying to figure out how to optimize. So like housing is always going to be your number one cost. And so I got myself a membership. I tried to get some sits in the States. You know, that wasn't happening, but I ended up in Europe and got to use my membership. So I saved money that way. I just full force focused on how I could sustain myself. So that was budgeting really well. And then also that was, once that money ran out, because eventually it was going to, figuring out how I wanted to make my money and letting myself figure that out. So doing 17 new jobs all at once, being brand new at all of them, you know, You wonder why people don't support you. They've never been in Canva, honey. They don't know anything about. It's just like, why don't they like my stuff? Why don't they share my stuff? They ain't open Canva. They don't know what it's like to have an idea and try to make visuals for it and put a price on it and put yourself out there and market it and deliver, and be concerned about the results of you delivering, right? So that's exactly what it was. I think you know where to start, but like your mind is just like, that's not the safe way. I can't do that. I have responsibilities. I got this, I got
Right.
that. You got the lease. You can't break the lease. Well, maybe don't break the
Mhm.
lease, but you could plan around the lease, right? So it's just like after the initial panic that your brain goes through of, that's different. That sounds untethered. That sounds ungrounded. That sounds too different for me to attempt. Then after you settle down, it's just like, this is actually possible. There are several Black women, single Black women with families, single mothers that are making this lifestyle happen. And the only thing is that they gave themselves permission to try and figure it out. So
That's what I was just
that's all
gonna
you.
say is giving yourself permission. Just hearing you say that, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay, so my next question. How has this is for you, Aisha, connecting with your genealogy, how does that or how has that helped you to feel more free?
Uh, um, I would say it's very empowering. It's very healing. It's very empowering. And those are just for lack of a better word. Like there are no words that I can describe it. Um, because I started this journey trying to figure out my genealogy about 15 years ago. It would just start as a hobby. I went to a family reunion in Baltimore. My uncle was like, "Yeah, I'm tired of doing this family tree thing. Nobody else is getting involved." He was also doing the family reunion journal that we published every year. So I was like, we had this business meeting before every reunion. I was like, okay, I'll do it. I volunteer as tribute. And that's where it started. I think I had just had my third baby. I think I was like 28, 29 maybe at the time. And I just started plugging away, asking questions, being nosy, being in people's business. People was like, why are you asking these questions? Like, where are you from? Where's your mom from? What did they do for a living? I have emails. My grandmother has passed away now, but my mother's mother, I have emails from her of us just talking back and forth, just hearing stories and learning about her people. And it would just inspire me because she would say, my people this, my people that. And I was like, who are my people? And I was like, well, her people are my people, right? So it has always been like this goal of mine to figure out, how do we get here? Why are we here? So that was like the biggest question. Like my mom's father's people are from Louisiana. So I'm like, well, how do we get to California? Why are some of us here and some of us are still there? Um, Asking questions like that, like how did we get to where we are? What brought us here? Why is my father's mother's family here in California, not in Baltimore anymore? So just asking questions about why we're here, who am I related to? And it also encouraged me to stay on Facebook because there have been so many times I'm like, I'm so done with Facebook. So Muslims call it fitna book. Fitna means starting trouble out there, starting something. We call it fitna book. Be like, sis, you on fitna book? It's a mess. I stay on Facebook because that is where I connect with my family, no matter where they're at. I have family in Canada, family in Baltimore, family in New Orleans. Now I have family in Sierra Leone. I hang out with them on Fit in a Book. And I don't get on there often, but I tell them I'm just on here checking in, being nosy, seeing what y'all doing. And they know, oh my gosh, Aisha's on Facebook. She does ask me questions about who done graduated, who didn't have babies. And the thing that I like is Facebook it lets you log into a platform called genie.com, and it's GENI.com. Genie is like social media for genealogy. So I try and get my family to come from Facebook to genealogy. And I was like, if y'all plug in this stuff, I won't have to come and be nosy and ask you questions. So genealogy for me really just started out as a hobby and just trying to be nosy and dig and figure out who I am. I think that was the question was, who are my people? Because once I know who my people are, then I know who I am. And having that now is just very healing, and it's amazing. Because like, as soon as I got back from Sierra Leone, I said, I can't wait for somebody to ask me where I'm from. So a lot of people, they'll assume things because I wear hijab. Oh, where are you from? I had a college professor, educated white lady. Oh, where are you from? I said, San Jose. Where's your mom from? San Francisco. Where's your dad from? Baltimore. Oh, like, but where are your grandparents from? New Orleans, Baltimore. Oh, I don't know why I asked that. That's such a dumb question. I just looked at her like, yeah, kind of dumb question. And I don't know if she just didn't realize I was Black or what. But I even have Muslims ask me, oh, sister, where are you from? Where are your people from? So I've always felt like this hole, like I don't know where I'm from. So to know, you know, when you take your DNA test, it'll tell you, oh, you're 30% this and 10% that. It left me with more questions. But when I took my African ancestry test, it told me not only the countries that my mother's family's from, and my dad's waiting on his results, so I'll have my paternal results soon. So it told me not only the countries, plural, that my mother's family's from, but the specific tribes that they're from. So now my question is not where am I from or who are my people, but how did we get here? And knowing the history of Sierra Leone, knowing the culture of the Fulanis and their nomads and they travel, the puzzle pieces are easier to put together. So I'm kind of connecting. Everybody tries to put this divide of like Black Americans and these African people. We have the same story. We have the same history. It's just at different ends of the links. So I'm trying to fill the gap between being, and I look at myself as I'm African. I am of African descent. I am an African in America, but I'm not African American. Africa is a country. I mean, it's a continent. It's not a country. So I am Temne American. I am Mende American. And so to be able to say that gives me freedom. It gives me empowerment. It gives me healing. It makes me feel more self-aware, more self-conscious. So Fulanis are very business-oriented people. I have never wanted to have a 9-to-5. It's something that I've always struggled with. And to see that, like, oh, that's why I'm like that. Like, that's just who I am. I went to Sierra Leone. I look at my nose. Nobody in my family has my nose. I go to Sierra Leone. Everybody has my nose. I'm looking at Wando. We have the same nose. So things like that, seeing people that look like my family, those are the type of things that heritage travel and genealogy research has given me in terms of freedom. Is freedom to see myself, to accept myself, to love myself. And I think that that's what it is. It's finding answers to who I am, and then also being able to share that with my family that can't travel. You know, travel is a luxury. It's very expensive. So being able to share that, and I try and tell people this DNA and this genealogy, it's not just for me. This is for anybody. This is for my kids, and this is for my grandparents and my great grandparents and my aunts and uncles. So it's more than just a hobby. It's a healing. It's very healing and very self-empowering.
Yes, definitely. I can relate to like everything that you're saying on so many different levels. I did AfricanAncestry.com. I found my tribe. I did 23andMe at first, and all of the different destinations that composed 100% me, right? But with the 23andMe, I felt I wanted to go deeper. Hence, I did the African ancestry and learning about the tribe and discovering that, you know, life for my maternal ancestors started in Egypt. And at that time, it was called Quebec, right? It's literally to discover that, oh my God, my ancestors is what they were calling the Cushites in the Bible, right? So it's just, it's so invigorating. It's so freeing. It's like literally feeling the shackles come off, right? Because I always say that he who does not know where you come from, how do you know where you're going, right? So it's very vital for us to know where we are coming from, what elements. You know, I found out my tribe was an entrepreneurial tribe, right? Made me sit down and I'm like, dang, do I write letters to my previous employers that I gave a hard time because I know the anointing was not going to be in these people's corporate or anything, you know? So it's very freeing, very empowering. Going to the Nubian village when I went to Egypt, amazing, right? But at the same time, it's one of the experiences that I can honestly say that it's a time in my life where I felt very unsafe as well as celebrated at the same time. And it was very confusing, to say the least. And a lot of us, we don't talk about that aspect of it, right? And it's connecting those dots and completing the puzzle so that you can kind of have an idea, again, of where you're going, that blueprint, that roadmap, that it's like, you know, you kind of understand, learning that I don't identify with African American. I'm not African American, I'm Afro-Caribbean, right? I came to America from Trinidad. I was 3 years old when I came here. And one thing, I grew up in Brooklyn and very, very diverse, very melting pot. So I was able to go to school here, but I still have my Trini culture. People ask me, oh my God, you still have your accent. Piss me off and you'll find out how Trini I can really get, right? So it's like one of those, it's like, oh my God, I hear your New York accent. Oh my gosh, I hear your Caribbean accent. It's all of that goes into me, right? And that in itself, it's freeing, as well as the entrepreneurship. Being Black in entrepreneurship, in travel, right? In my case, in luxury, where you're going to Black and brown destinations, and it's like the advertising, the campaigns. Have you ever seen a commercial to Jamaica and it's like a whole bunch of older white people skipping down the beach? That never made me want to go to Jamaica before. Why are we promoting it like that, right? So it's just the lack of representation, the lack of inclusion. To be in spaces where they tell us we don't belong or we're not wanted. Listen, I got tired of wanting to come to the table. I started buying the restaurant, right? You guys, now you work for me. You here because I'm the feature, right? I'm providing a space for you to come and have that table and have these discussions. That's where I'm at. I'm tired of trying to fit in or want to be part of the space. No, that's not the narrative no more. We're flipping the script. We are products of our ancestors, but don't get it twisted. We are not our ancestors, right? Things that they allowed to happen and that they were letting get away with. We are here as the ambassadors, as the advocates, to let them know that, listen, what they allowed, that's not allowed no more. That's done. That's over with. That's where we're fighting the resistance of the supremacies and the racisms and all the patriarchy and all of the things that, because if it wasn't us fighting with the melanin that is within our skin, the fight is us being women, right? If it's not one, it's the other. So it's just like that freedom, just trying to have all aspects of you fit into that mold. That is freedom. So that's just, I'm so excited to learn more about just your whole experience, and just even knowing that you had like a whole ceremony and just, oh my God, that is just so amazing. And I just, I'm sure we all definitely want to know more. And then with you, Wanda, living abroad, low-key jealous over here.
What you call me?
It's like, so much wisdom that you girls can just pour in to the communities, right? Because one thing I realized, being raised Caribbean, it takes a village, right? But instead of looking for that village, at a point we have to come and we need to start building those villages, those communities, those places where we can pour into the empty cups and fill each other, right? And that's to me, that's what freedom is about. Freedom is just this right here. This even is church, y'all, okay? Just giving whole words on here. Just it's
entire
just
word.
Absolutely. And I'm just so grateful to be involved in this space. So with that, I would
And also,
want to
just
ask
wanted
one
to
more.
speak in there.
Uh-huh.
We thank you so much for leading us, for making space for us in the wonderful community, within the wonderful community, the BIPOC community that you had. We really appreciate that. You know, community
I love y'all,
management
like,
is
yeah, I
Because we talk
love,
about freedom. I feel very free there. Like there's questions and things.
yes.
And I will post in there because I feel like it's a space where I can be myself. It's a space where I can
Absolutely.
fully show up and post questions that maybe other people can't relate to, you know, conversations like this that we have all the time. So, you know,
Unapologetically.
yeah, like I
Unapologetically.
when I go to book a tour or I'm looking to plan travel, I don't see anybody going to West Africa. You know, questions like that, like why aren't these countries of West Africa in tour books? You know, why is everything Morocco? Like that's Western, Northern Africa. Why do Egyptians not think they're African? Questions like that. Like you can't always ask those questions in all the spaces.
You
So
can't.
your community and Wanderful, it gives me a safe space to have conversations with people, you know, that I can fully show up and be myself in.
I love it. Love it. I felt that during the time that what was happening, you know, it became like a battle for my mental sanity. And I felt like we needed spaces where it can just be us unapologetically. It's not we're anti-ally. It's not we're anti-anybody. We're just really pro-us. And we just need that space to pour into each other and to iron sharpens iron, right? And we need that. We need to keep that. And that's just my only goal is to just provide a space for us to just be.
Right.
So I am going to give it to Justine now. If you girls don't mind, we can open up because I see we have some questions in the audience. And Justine, can you hear us? Hey. Hello.
And like, oh my gosh. But I don't want to be here because I want you all to just keep having a conversation amongst yourselves. But we do have some questions in our comment section. And I just want to send a reminder. We do have about 12 more minutes. So for those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, on Facebook, please feel free and continue to drop in your questions. Sapphire, if you want to take a look in the private chat, the questions are there. But I'll start here. KF asked, do you know how safe it is for African Ancestry, I think is the company that you were speaking of earlier, in terms of sharing information with outside organizations?
So African Ancestry, one of the things that is a big part of their marketing is they destroy your DNA. This is a pet peeve of mine, honestly. So Ancestry.com keeps your data, keeps your information. They keep your data. They don't keep your DNA, but they keep your data, and it's in a database so that you can find matches and people that you're related to. And you can search census records. So that's what Ancestry is really good at. African Ancestry, and they boast this and they tell you, we don't keep your data, we don't keep your DNA, we don't keep nothing. We don't have a database, we don't connect you to people. They only take your DNA. After it's done, they get rid of it. There's no database, you don't exist, and they just tell you who your people are and where you're from. That's it. So you have a kit number and they tell you, you know, oh, Aisha, your maternal ancestry going back 2,000 years is, you know, the Fulani people of Guinea-Bissau, the Kru people of Liberia, and the Mende and Temne of Sierra Leone. That's it. That's all I got from them. One of the things now that I'm trying to do on my own is using my resources and my research is figuring out who am I related to in those places. So one of the things that I am trying to encourage the people that I know in Sierra Leone is take your DNA test on Ancestry.com. That will help people like me and Africans in the diaspora that are trying to find you. Because for us, it's not just knowing where you're from, but it's finding our people. We want to know who we're related to. So that's my goal right now, is trying to figure out, who am I related to in Sierra Leone? Where does this maternal connect from here to there, you know, in these different countries, in these different places? So that is not something that African ancestry offers. But as far as your information, it's safe. They don't share it. That's a big part of who they are, because they know that that's a concern of people's that they have. But one thing I want to mention, and Gina Page, the co-founder, CEO of African Ancestry, says they take our DNA when you're born. When you're a baby, they got your footprints, they take your DNA, they take your blood samples the day you're born. If you've ever taken a COVID test, they got your DNA there. If you go to Starbucks and you pick up a cup, or, you know, anything, your DNA can be found in so many things. Your hair, you know, your saliva, your blood. Like, our DNA is it's everywhere. So if they want to find you, like if the government, I mean, if that's what you guys are afraid of, a lot of people are afraid of. I asked my uncle, I was like, "Uncle, can you take this DNA test for me?" He's like, "Girl, ain't nobody sharing no DNA." He was like, "You know, no." My uncle's just very old school. My uncle don't do internet. He does not do online banking. I'm like, how do you survive in this world? If they want your information, they can get it. So being Muslim, I've had my phone tapped. I've had FBI show up on my house telling me they're watching what I'm doing on my computer. They can get your DNA. So that's another story. They can get your DNA if they want it. Yeah.
I'm just gonna jump in real quick with African ancestry. Also, I noticed in the group that certain people that send away for their results, if it comes back, if your maternal or paternal doesn't have any, I guess, didn't originate in Africa, it'll let you know that, and then that's it. Like, they don't tell you any other. So like, say for example, if you have Native American, it'll just say, hey, Native American in haplo blah blah blah, and that's as far as it's going to go. It won't give you tribe. It won't, you know, it only sticks to the African diaspora. And 23andMe does allow you to have that relative connection. Like, I connected with literally like 1,500 relatives that actually blew my mind, right? My makeup, finding that the story that my grandmother told us, you know, that coming from Africa, and our plight landed in Argentina, and then from Argentina it went to the Caribbean, right? And coming from Argentina in that time frame, that ancestor was raped by a Welsh soldier that was there at the time with Hitler in Germany or whatever was happening. And that ancestor, when she migrated, so we had that 13-14%, what we call, I guess, colonizer in our blood system, you know, to learn to connect to those as well. That I do actually want to go to those destinations. I want to go to Ireland, and I want to go to France, and not really Germany, but, you know, just those are elements that's in there. So it does kind of break it down more. It kind of gives you more of a complete feeling, but also it still opens doors for more questions, right? Because now it gives you more destinations for you to go and do that research and do that search.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question that we have, I'm sorry, is Amy S., because I don't want to mess up your last name. She says, can you explain to folks how U.S. citizenship / residency citizenship in other countries work? So
for me, once I took my African ancestry test, it proved that I had Mende and Temne ancestry in Sierra Leone. From my research and from what I've been told, is Sierra Leone is the only country on the continent of Africa where you can get citizenship through DNA, where if you can prove that you have ancestry there, you get citizenship. So what I did is I participated in a citizenship workshop. I went, they do like a whole history thing about Sierra Leone, the country, if you want to start a business there, if you want to go to school there, if you want to move there. They give you all these resources. They give you people to connect with and people to contact and the right ways to do things. And then we did our passports, did our fingerprints, did background checks, met with the president, took our oath, and he handed us our passports. So I have a picture on my Instagram, like, oh my God, I met a president. I never met a president before. And I did not know what to say. I was up there, I was like, thank you, Mr. President. I was like, I don't know what else to say. People were just talking to him like he's a normal person. I mean, he's a human, of course, but I was like in kind of like a shock. But yeah, so that's how it was for me. It was a work. Like it was not vacation. It was a lot of work. We volunteered while we were there. We got to go around the town and the city, but you're learning a lot. They want you to learn a lot and they want you to really connect there. So I had my naming ceremony. So I stayed in the town of Aberdeen, which is a main town in Freetown. It's kind of like a metropolitan city. But then you have the rural areas. So I went to a village where the Temne are, which is called Tasso Island. It's literally an island. And I met them and they did naming ceremony. They planted a coconut tree for me. And they're like, when you come back, your tree's going to be here. And we're going to take care of it. We're going to nourish it. And we're waiting for you to come back. So they did a whole ritual ceremony and gave me my Temne name, which is Rukur Kabo, which means the firstborn. And then I went to a village on the eastern part of Sierra Leone called Bo, I think it was Boyamba. And we got to go to the Sewa River, which is where they're mining for diamonds and gold. And did my Mende ceremony and did a similar ritual there. And my name there is Yande, which means very beautiful. And I think that I really like about it is I'm a Muslim convert. I've been Muslim for about 20 years. Temne are majority Muslim and the Mende are majority Christian. So I also got to go to a church where its rafters and its pews are made from slave ships that were brought there when the people from Nova Scotia, there were African Nova Scotians is what they call them, that were kind of like British allies, went back to Sierra Leone. So it was like both sides of my family, both sides of my ancestry I got to experience. So the Muslim side, the Christian side, my Mende, my Temne name. So if you have Mende, you only do Mende. If you only have Temne, you only have Temne. I happen to have both. So that was pretty much the experience for me. I spent 2 weeks there. I think we got 2 or 3 days of just relaxing on the beach, and the rest of it was work. We volunteered at a women's shelter. The women do it with fistula, which is basically like their bowels are still open after having a baby or being raped. There were babies there, like 8 years old, that had been raped. So just volunteering, learning how we can make an impact, whether we're here or we're there. It was work. It definitely wasn't a luxury vacation, but I loved it. It was nothing like my trip to Ghana. So my trip to Ghana was vacation. It was nice. It was educational. But my trip to Sierra Leone was literally like going back home. It was like reuniting with family. You know, you see like these shows where girls are kidnapped and reunited, like the Dugard family, they're kidnapped and brought back and reunited with their family. I can't imagine how that would feel because it's very kind of unsettling. Whereas for me, it's like, okay, you're taken from your people, but you're brought back, but they're very welcoming and you feel at home. It wasn't a very weird feeling, you know, like I mentioned, seeing people that look like me. It was amazing.
So I see that we have very, very limited time. There was one more question. If Miss PTO Nomad, if you don't mind, if we would be able to either email you the answer for the sake of time, because I don't want you to feel, that your question is not being addressed. I will say it was a pleasure sharing the stage. That's the question right there.
Can I say something before you end? Miss PTO Nomad, join us in Wanderful and join the BIPOC group and post your question in there. Membership is free for 30 days. So if you start your membership today, from today forward, you'll get free 30 days. Join and post your question in there. We're in there. post your question in there so we can answer your question.
And
also Amy.
And there you go. I think there was another question too from another young lady, but everyone, if you can just ask us the questions in the community and we would definitely get that answered for you. And ladies, thank you so much. This was like the best hour
This was
ever.
fun.
It was such a pleasure.
It went by so fast.
It did. It was a lot of goodies and a lot of information. And like Aisha said, Dr. Aisha said, Wanderful has its open membership, free for 30 days. Y'all better get on up on here. I better see y'all up in here. I want to see y'all up in here. Please come in here. Okay, bye.
Bye.